So for my 9 to 5, I recently got into promoting solutions related to leadership development. And these are solutions for companies that need to improve team productivity, that need to get better operational and financial results um, through improving the engagement of their people and how effective and productive those teams are. Because let's face it, if you're gonna build a $1 billion business, you're not gonna do it all by yourself. So that's kind of like the background of these solutions and why they are of particular importance. Now, these solutions are not something for my regular watchers on this channel. It's kind of more so for businesses that are kind of way out there. And so I'm just kind of sharing this as an update on just my own experiences as a sales development representative, business development representative, just something that I'm doing in my own 9 to 5. This is not related to the product-based side hustle stuff that I normally talk about on the channel. This is just so some of the lessons that I'm learning in that 9 to 5 work and just my own experiences. So far, what I've done is I've now done 100 cold calls to promote these particular solutions, and here are my own top lessons so far from 100 cold calls. So the first thing that I would say is that the fear of cold calling is just irrational. Like, people go out there and they talk about cold calling like it's being dumped. It's having a bucket of cold, icy water being dumped down your back. And the reality is, it's nothing of the kind. Like in my 100 cold calls, I've had people that have greeted me well, have been understanding to me, have tried to help me connect with the right person. I've had people that have been acted really nice to me, and have I also had people that hung up on me? Yeah, I did. That's part of cold calling. But I've had people that have treated me just like a normal, regular human being in a very nice way. So this idea of just being irrationally afraid of cold calling, it's incredibly damaging. And I think as a culture, I think there's this culture in the business world where we almost fear cold calling. We almost look like, oh, cold calling, that's hard, that's difficult, and it makes the job much harder than it needs to be. So if you're trying to make cold calls, I'll just say, like, my first piece of advice is quickly discard your fear of cold calling. It's unwarranted. It will hold you back. You don't need it. It won't help. And it's completely irrational. Completely irrational. Making cold calls is much safer than taking out your car and driving into town. Nothing is gonna happen to you when you're cold calling. When you're driving into town and back home, you could be involved in a car accident. You could lose your life. It could cost you a lot of money in insurance or other things, fixing cars, going to the hospital, maybe you get injured, things like that. Nothing of the kind is ever going to happen to you when you're out cold calling. So please get over that very quickly. Realize there's nothing to fear here. This is a good field and a good activity. Point number 2 is that cold calling is fun if you do it in a fun way. So what I mean is, don't be so uptight. Like, you get on the phone and you're like, hello, it's John. I need to talk to Susie. Is Susie available? Like, don't be so uptight where you're having a bad time simply because you're psyching yourself out. Like, enjoy the process. To me, that's important. Get on the phone and be there like, hey, this is John. I need to talk to Susie. I got something that Susie needs to look at. Like, get into it and treat it in a fun way. Make sure you're having fun, and you know what will happen is you will have fun. You will have fun. So that's the second most important lesson. And then lesson number 3, this is critical, guys. Critical, which is detach completely from the results. Completely don't care about the results. Like, if you study some of the best champions in football, in basketball, in sports, you realize that they really don't care so much about the results. Like, they're gonna prepare the same for a match, whether they are gonna win that match or they're gonna lose. And after they win or they lose, they go straight back to the gym, and their preparation for the next match is gonna be exactly the same whether they lost the previous match or they won like, if you didn't know the scorecard, you pretty much would never know whether they won or they lost. They have detached themselves from the results, and they are all just focused just on the inputs, the things that they can control. They're like, I'm up at 5 a.m., I'm in the gym, I'm making 300 shots. This is what I can control. And then when I go to the match and I play the match, I do my best, and I'm happy about that. I don't care about the score, because the score, you can't control that. There could be a gust of wind that throws away that perfect ball that you'd thrown that was gonna win the match. You can't beat yourself up on that. You could also get lucky on that last pass that the opposite player just happened to tilt it accidentally in, and you made a score. You can't praise yourself for doing that. That's just being lucky. But what I can control is my effort and my input and my discipline and my process. Am I working a good process? And that's actually my advice number 4, is you gotta work a process. You gotta work a healthy process. This is so critical. What you gotta do is you gotta sleep early the night before so that you're completely rested. Being a cold caller, so much, it's a job that pretty much happens from the neck upwards. It's all about your headspace. It's all about, are you mentally strong enough today that you can take no's and apparent rejection from people, and potentially people calling you bad names or calling you bad things. So that's all about, are you mentally prepared? If you didn't sleep well the night before, if you're tired, if you're down, you're negative, you're all this, it's gonna be hard. You're not gonna endure through 100, 200, 300 cold calls. The only way to be able to get through that is if you are completely in the zone. And that means you need to really pay attention here. You need to sleep well the night before. Like, sleep a really long time. Make sure you're completely rested. You wake up at a natural time in the morning to sunshine. And then the other thing is make sure you're drinking enough water, all right? You gotta be hydrated, because cold calling for a long time, you're gonna get tired, but your voice still needs to sound good, so make sure you're drinking enough water, you're hydrated, you're up to the game. Another key piece of advice, make sure you're also doing exercise daily. This really helps. This helps get your blood moving. It helps you have the stamina to be able to go through a lot of cold calls and do a good job. The other thing is take care of your mind, all right? Like, don't read garbage like news and all kinds of just negative junk, right? Like, keep your mind space clear. Don't dwell all your hours on that kind of stuff. Like, create time to clarify in your mind the work you're doing, to get clear on your script, to practice your script, to maintain what W. Clement Stone called a positive mental attitude. It's so important in sales that you come to the job every day with a positive mentality. You want to be like completely positive, upbeat. You're optimistic about the potentials in front of you, and you're just working your process and you don't care about the results. Now, if you follow these tips, you'll get really far. Now, final tip, guys, is it's a numbers game. You gotta work a lot of numbers and don't focus on if you're getting sales or not. Act like the sales don't matter and that the sales are gonna be just virtually inevitable in the end because you're working your numbers every day. Like work the numbers game every day. So those are my best lessons from 100 cold calls, and if you follow these lessons, you're gonna have a great time cold calling, and you're gonna have tremendous success. That's it from me.